Welcome to week 3. Hopefully you're feeling stronger in your body by now. This week we're going to focus on integrated disassociation of upper and lower body while stabilizing our inner core, meaning we're going to be starting to apply both movements of the legs and the arms while stabilizing our pelvis. Let's get started. We're starting lying down on our back, starting with finding our neutral pelvis with our level triangle, a little bit of a chin nod, small space in our lower back. Taking a couple of breaths, activating our diaphragmatic breath, turning on our bungee cord, a transverse abdominis, 20% pelvic floor lift. And we're going to start bringing our hands up towards the ceiling. As we breathe in, maintaining neutral, you're going to move opposite arm and opposite leg away from each other, and then exhale, coming back. Stay on one side and do about 20 or so. Inhale out, exhale in. Focusing on feeling that tailbone nice and heavy, not letting anything move. Once you do 20 on that side, switch to the other side. Opposite arm and leg move away from each other, and then they're coming back in. This is sagittal motion control. We're moving arm and leg through flexion extension. We're maintaining our neutral pelvis. If it helps, you can keep that other arm on your pelvic bones to make sure that nothing is moving. After you do 20 of those, we're going to go into the transverse motion, where opposite leg and opposite arm fall out to the side. Breathe in, and then exhale as they come back in. Again, pick a side and work on that side. You want to ensure that the hip that's bent isn't moving. That is just that opposite hip and opposite arm fall out to the side. And then go to the other. And make sure that you breathe. There's one breath on each movement. It's not as crucial when it's an inhale and when it's an exhale, as long as you keep breathing. Make sure that your shoulders are away from ears. Inhale out and exhale in. Pause this video and practice. The next movement, we're going to go onto the stomach. And this time, arms will reach forward. I like to keep my thumbs up so it's slightly externally rotated through the shoulders. Legs are a little bit wider than the hip width apart, maybe a little bit externally rotated for that force closure through the SI joint, helps stabilize our sacroiliac joint a little bit better. Find your neutral pelvis here, pubic bone pressing down. Abdominals are pulling in, hip bone to hip bone. Let your shoulders find their neutral position by sliding away from ears so that you're not kind of all the way shrugged up. You also don't want to just lock them down. You want to sort of pause halfway in between. Palms are up. And we're going to lift one arm up without moving anything else. Now, you're going to nod the chin and maybe lift your head up to the long line here. And then lower that arm down. Keep your head there so it's a chin nod, the back of the neck is nice and long. And just work on lifting one arm up, lower back down, and then the other. And lower. Our shoulder is integrated towards our pelvis and our lower body through a diagonal fascial sling connection. So the lower trapezius feeds into the lat, into the lumbosacral fascia, and into the opposite glute. So it's very important to find that lumbopelvic stabilization with the movement of our shoulder. If you feel when you lift your arm, your whole pelvis is rotating, reset, activate your glutes, push your pubic bone down, externally rotate the hips, turn on your core, and then start moving. Inhale up, exhale down. After you did about 20 of those, bring your hands underneath your forehead. Stay there. You're going to push your hands down into the floor, not the chin, and lift your head up. Now from here, holding this nice long neck position, pressing your palms down into the floor, shoulder blades away from ears. We're going to start lifting one leg up and lower back down. And then lift the other hip up and lower back down. Remember from week 2 where you start with that glute activation, hip is a little bit externally rotated as you lift and lower. Now in this part, we're keeping our head up. We're adding a load from the above. We're keeping nice long neck, keeping that chin tucked and the back of the neck reaching to the ceiling. Last one, side to side. You're going to do about 20. So pause the video and finish. From here, take a second and move into the shell stretch. I like to keep knees a little bit wide, toes touching as you sit back, and just reset your lumbar spine. Take a deep breath into the back of the ribs here. And then slow exhale through pursed lips. Give yourself 3 or 4 breaths, focusing on the diaphragmatic expansion more posteriorly, more into the posterolateral lobes of the lungs. And then slowly, we're going to transition to hands and knees. Now, as we move through the quadruped series, the setup is very important. So I want your fingertips open and the palms pressing firmly into the mat. Shoulder blades are moving away from each other and away from ears. You're going to move your spine as a cat-camel kind of motion through flexion, extension, until you find neutral, where the tailbone is lifted, there's a little extension through the lower back. Hips are parallel. I like toes curled under. The knees are right underneath the hips. And then tuck the chin and lift the back of your neck to the ceiling. So you're finding that nice long spinal position, maintaining curves in our spine, a little lumbar extension, thoracic flexion, lower cervical extension. Start turning on transverse abdominis by pulling hip bone to hip bone. Take a couple of breaths through the lateral ribs, through the outside of the rib cage. And then we're going to start slowly shifting the weight into one arm and gently lifting the opposite arm off the floor. So we're just holding it there. Notice how you're turning on obliques on that side, abdominals on the other, without shifting your pelvis, so your transverse abdominis is working because the pelvis stays stable. Lower that palm down, and then switch to the other side. Inhale. Exhale, lower. And so keep working side to side. To increase the difficulty of this, so this feels pretty easy, you're going to walk your hands a little further. So now I'm kind of more in the extended plank position. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Start lifting side to side. And exhale. And inhale. You're going to do about 20 to each side. Working at your own pace here. To increase the challenge of this, lift your arm and just hold it there for 10 seconds. Maintain that position. Check in with your shoulder. Are you starting to sink in? Press firmly into that hand. Check in with your head. Check in with your lumbar spine. This is meant to be very mindful and task-specific exercise. We're working on precision. And then lower back down. After you did about 20 of those, you are done with week 3. Thank you so much. Keep practicing and incorporating these exercises over this next week, and I will see you during our final week 4.